Nurture and support. Nurture and support. This is a podcast theme song. And it's really short.
Nurture and support begins in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nurture and Support, a recommendation podcast sharing all the awesome since 2013. I'm Kelly Toole at KELLYTHUL on Twitter, and with me, as always, is Mel.
Hey everybody, I'm Mel at Karmic9 on Twitter, and lucky for all of y'all, we have another guest this episode. Welcome for the first visit ever, Dylan. Tell them all about it, Dylan.
Hello, I'm Dylan Lang at Holodill on Twitter, and yes, I do a YouTube show once every Sunday, 12:30 usually at a time. Might vary depending on who my co-host is and what their availability is, but I focus on everything. Don't have one real genre I look at. I talk comic books, this show, whatever I feel like, and my international show. So just fun old-fashioned goof stuff. My voice sounds a little cracky because I just recorded one earlier today, so hopefully I'll be able to make it through. I think I will, though.
We're low energy. So you should be fine.
Fantastic.
We will definitely not wait 100 or so episodes before we have you on again either. So glad you could join us today. So awesome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I'll go ahead and get things started. My recommendation this week is a web service, and it's pretty cool. It's called Rabbit. If you are using a browser, you can go to rabb.it, and you'll get to it. And it does something that a lot of us have wanted to do in an easy way for a long time, which is allow for co-viewing of videos on YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Go, and you can bring that up, and then you can invite people to join and watch with you. And you've got basically the movie going on one side, and then the chances for everybody to interact. The interaction, you got a lot of options there. You can do full video, so you've got basically all the little circles of the people watching the show with their mics and video going. You can just do audio only, so people are speaking, or you can go with the more traditional message board text chat kind of thing along with it. So it's something that I think we've mentioned before on the show. Patrick, the Chinchilla on Twitter, because I can never say his Twitter handle right. So we're going to call him the Churlikian. I can't. How did he say it, Mel?
I say it Chlorichan, but I have no idea how you pronounce it.
I think it's like a Irish thing because I had him on for a St. Patrick's Day show last year, and it was like I want to call it the Chloricon. Is what I want to call it, the Chloricon.
That could be right. I mean, the way that it's spelled, I don't know. I'm from Texas. We don't pronounce anything right.
That's right. Chlorichan, Chloricon, Chimichanga, whatever it is. Patrick does the Late Night Movie Club, which is awesome of him, and he hosts a chat room on Syfy-ish and points everybody to a YouTube video. We all get in the chat room. There's a countdown. Everybody starts the video. We watch it together. And it's a fun way to kind of live snark since sci-fi's kind of let us down on a steady diet of bad new movies. The challenge is you've got a wide variety of devices connecting into that YouTube thing. You've got people who are patient and people who are not patient when they hit go on the button. And there's lag and there's other things that come up. So unfortunately what happens in a lot of those movies is as you get about 20, 30 minutes into it, somebody's a minute ahead, somebody's a minute behind, and sometimes the timing of certain comments, particularly puns, is pretty important that whatever happened, when you throw it out, is happening right at that time. So this gets around some of the challenges with that. Patrick, actually, we tried it out the other night just for fun, and Patrick joined us for a while, and he's pretty intrigued, so I think he's going to continue to look at seeing other ways that this could help out with that. Biggest downside to it right now is a limit of 15. So you can still have a pretty healthy group of folks, but it does limit at 15. You can go over 15 in a chat room environment, and it makes a lot of sense. If you've got audio or video going, I wouldn't know why you'd want to go over 15 anyway, because it gets a little dicey with that many people trying to talk and all that. But it's really an amazing piece of software. If you get a room, basically as you get in and you sign up and get your ID, there's a room assigned to you that's your ID, and you can go into that room, and if I have a Netflix account and authorization, I can go ahead and bring up a Netflix movie, and everybody else who joins does not have to have any sort of Netflix account. It's all running off of my permissions because I'm the one broadcasting it. or narrowcasting it, I guess, in this case. And the video quality is better than Google Hangouts of the participants. Really struck by how well that works, and didn't seem to be any kind of glitches on the video side of the involvement. And when you fire it up, it's basically browser based in terms of the video you're watching. So if you pick YouTube, you go to YouTube. If you pick Netflix, you're logging into Netflix through the web. So once that browser is opened up, you can go up to the URL line, gut it out, and put in whatever you want to. So for our little experiment, there was a file on my drive that I'm not going to say how it got there. It happened to be a video experience on my drive my Google Drive that I was able to fire up and share with the group. And so you're not really even limited to YouTube. You can have some things locally, as long as you put it up on the web somewhere where you can go ahead and get to the URL. You can do it. When you actually fire up the room and are about to engage, it actually gives you can pick the particular platforms, or you can actually put in a URL down in a box there. So it fires up super easy to do. You've got the chats and invites. It really helps that you friend people because it makes it easier to shoot them an invite. The only mildly confusing thing for it right now is if you go in and you say, yeah, I want to start rabbiting, and at some point in time, it'll create kind of a generic room for you. So it'll be RABBIT/ and a series of characters, and that's the room you're actually in, and you can begin to invite people into that. What you want to do, I think, is go to your room. So you can actually leave that room and go to your room. And so I've changed my handle. I was Bog Panda for a while, but when I started to invite people to join and be a friend, people were thinking it was spam. And so I said, all right, I'll go with my name. So it's now RABBIT/ Kelly Toole, and that's my room. And so I can basically invite people into it. Or you can just simply type that in, hit enter, and I'm going to get notified, hey, Dylan wants to join your room, and I can choose to let you in or not. Which, of course, Dylan, I would let you in if you knocked on my room's door.
Did you have to make another account, or did it allow you to change your username?
I went right into the profile page and changed it.
Okay.
And so I'll be interested to see, Mel, like if you go back in and bring up your friends list, if I'm switched over to that. I jumped right back to that after I did it because I thought, did that just shed all the connections? But everybody was still there.
Okay.
So I think it was just an account change. So it's free. It's awesome. You can share information. In all candor, I think in certain times when I'm looking to do a quick video chat with somebody, I'll probably choose this over if they're a Rabbit user. I'll probably choose this over Google Hangouts because I like the video feed better. I like the environment a little bit better. It's pretty quick and easy to set up. The one thing is they have to have a Rabbit account and have to be able to invite them from there. As you might expect, since you're showing information that's copyright protected, there's no record option. So that's the one kind of downside. Like, I kind of thought, wow, maybe we can do nurture and support recordings in it. We're not going to be able to do that unless we get really crafty, I think, because you can't do any kind of recording from it. But it's a really great environment. It's free. If you're not on Rabbit, I highly recommend you get on. If you do, hit me up, hit Mel up, let's friend up so that we can kind of connect sometime. And I think you'll find it pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The only downside it looks like right now is that the app isn't as functional as if you're using it through a browser on your laptop or your PC. But I'm sure they'll get that fixed soon.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because access point wise, because we had a bunch of people come on to try it out and just test it, see how it worked, and trying different platforms and all that. So Chromebooks worked great, laptops worked great. You could get in on an iPhone. There is an iPhone app, and the person who was using the iPhone was able to get in. There, as Tamel mentioned, the functionality wasn't quite as great, and that's a pretty small form factor to jam all the stuff that's going on into the iPhone, even one of the bigger iPhones. But oddly enough, someone tried to access it on an iPad, and it shut them down at some point in time. So I think tablet access right now might be a little difficult. I don't know what's going to happen on an Android tablet. As far as phones go, it's only available on iOS for the iPhone right now. So I think we'll see that build out. But if you got a laptop or a Chromebook, probably the best ways to hit this thing anyway. Works out really well, or an iPhone. So
yeah, and I think the chat feature would work fine probably on the iPhone app because it's very versatile. It just depends on how you want to use it. We were looking for a way to watch stuff as a group, but if you were going to use it just as a chatting medium with your friends, I think it would work great for that too. I did like the chat form factor. that it had with your little avatar next to it was a lot easier than some of the other services that I've seen as well. I mean, it was pretty slick. It's a really good interface.
Yeah, the only thing I wish they had there was that you could kind of a little bit more mention somebody, because you can kind of there's a group chat, and then if I want to say something to Mel, I can click on Mel's icon and actually start a separate chat with her. But you'd still have to type it at Mel or do something manually for that. But it's still pretty cool, and I do agree it's a very well done interface overall. It's pretty cool. So check out Rabbit on the interwebs and have some fun, and friend us up if you do.
Yep.
And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our guest, Dylan, for his recommendation.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Sounds like a very interesting suggestion. I might have to take a look at it myself. My choice is actually a film that probably most people have never heard of before, but it is the one film that actually, and here's where you guys can pretend to throw up if you want, but it's where it was proof that my wife Dawn and I, belong together, because when we were just getting ready to set up date and stuff like that, her best friend set up a questionnaire for me, and one of the questions was, what is your favorite movie? And I wrote mine, and then she told me what hers was, and it was the Pirate movie, which is the movie I'm going to be recommending. And she had told me, I don't think you've probably ever heard of this or seen it before. And then when she said it was a Pirate movie, I was like, oh wait, yeah, I have. And so I sang one of the songs from it, and so from that moment on, I knew I was meant for my wife, so go ahead, if you want.
I want to break this apart a little bit further before we go. I want to make sure I fully understand.
Okay.
So there's a Dawn out there, and there's a Dylan out there, and there's a potential. Oh, maybe these two should go out on a date. But then Dawn's friends apparently assessed you and said, let's test this guy first. Let's run him through a quiz. There was a vetting before the date.
Yes, there was. It was her best friend. I worked with her at Rainforest Cafe, and her best friend did not like the guy she was dating at the time, and she liked me because I was very nice to her, I guess. And so she said, hey, you should date this guy. He's really great. And eventually, Dawn and this guy broke up, and then after a good enough mourning period, she said, okay, hook us up on a date. So before she set us up on a date, she wrote up a questionnaire just to see, how we would, interact and stuff like that. And one of the questions was, what's your favorite movie? But the minute that, her friend was like, her favorite movie is the Pirate movie. You probably never heard of it. I started singing one of the songs because I had seen it with my sister back when it first came out. The film came out in 1982. Stars Christopher Atkins from The Blue Lagoon and Kristen McNichol, who eventually ended up in Empty Nest, I think was the TV show she was in. And it's basically a 1980s pop rock opera. It's a rock opera update of the Pirates of Penzance. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Pirates of Penzance or seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, yes. Enjoy that version.
Well, what's great about it is the 1980s was a great time for pop music. So you had your Madonnas and your Michael Jacksons and a lot of the big one-hit wonders, Dixie's Midnight Runner, stuff like that. So it was a big time for pop music. And so, granted, it's early 80s, but still, the whole pop music industry was starting to get started. So what they decided to do was they decided to make this version of the Pirates of Penzance, kind of update it for contemporary times. They use some of the classical songs, but they changed the lyrics to fit into the 1980s culture. And then you have these few pop songs in it. So there's about 10 songs in the whole movie, and about maybe half of them are like pop love song type of thing, sung by the actors themselves. So no voice, no different singers. So Christopher Atkins sang his song, Kristen McNichol sang her song. When they duetted together personally. It wasn't done by other people singing. But the basic premise is, it's in Australia. It takes place in Australia. It's a pirate weekend down by the harbor or whatever. So everybody's in their pirate gear and they're doing all kinds of stuff. And Kristen McNichol's character is this nerdy type of glasses wearing, stereotypical nerd, frizzy hair type of thing. And all of her friends, supposed friends, are all these buxom, beautiful women who are wearing bikinis to this event. She's all dressed in like shirts and double shirts and jeans and frizzy hair and stuff like that. And one of the events they have at the pirate show is they have a examination of fencing with swords. So they have two guys, a guy who is older, and then Christopher Atkins' character, and they show a little bit of what it's like sword fighting in old pirate days. They do a little thing like that, and then Christopher Atkins asks for a volunteer to come up, and her friends throw Chrissy McNichol up there, and she's given a fencing thing, and he does a little fencing thing, and eventually, he seems a little interested in her, and so he invites her to come with him and do some, skin diving, looking for lost treasure in the water. And then he says, go ahead and bring all your friends. So all the hot chicks come, and so they're all getting in his boat. And Christopher Atkins is this gorgeous, hunky, blonde, blue-eyed, built, tan type of guy. So all the ladies like him. And so all the pretty girls are getting on the boat with him, and they sent Chrissy McNichol's character, whose name is Mabel, to get food from McDonald's for them. So when they see her coming, they get the boat to shove off without her. And that upsets Christopher Atkins, but there's really not much he can do. He's got like 20 women on there, and I guess if he tried hard enough, he probably could have gone back for her. But instead, she hires a boat and goes after them, and there's a storm suddenly comes up, and she gets knocked overboard, and she gets swept up onto an island. And then it becomes a dream sequence. So she flashes back to the age of pirates, the 1800s, stuff like that. And that's where the movie takes place, is during the 1800s. But because it's a dream, you can have all kinds of crazy, funny, weird stuff happen, and it makes sense because it's a dream. But that's when it gets absolutely insane. The pirates are the absolute worst pirates in the world. They're not like your typical cutthroats you're used to. They're the goofy, silly, comedic, sexually frustrated ones. The Pirate King is very high fashion and stuff like that. And Christopher Atkins is Frederick. He is a guy who is there. Basically like their intern. He's been raised by the Pirate King since the Pirate King killed his family when he was a baby, and so he raised the baby as an apprentice. And so when he becomes 21, it's his apprenticeship is over, and now he can become a member of the crew. But Christopher Atkins doesn't want to do that because he remembers these pirates killed his family, so he wants to not join their crew. He wants to vanquish them when he can. And so they force him overboard, and he ends up on this coastal island where there's this big major general and his like 6 daughters and all these other women who are on the island, and they're dancing, singing, and playing badminton on the beach and stuff like that. And then there's Chrissy McNichol's Mabel character, who is totally different than the others. The others are all uptight 1870s corseted type of women, and she's a more freer 1980s type, the looser clothing, stuff like that. And then Christopher Atkins, who feels the urge that he needs to date somebody and have sex, basically. It's a sex comedy also. He goes and he finds the uptight girls, but they don't want anything to do with him, but he finds Chrissy McNichol, and they fall in love. And then the pirates see these girls, and they decide that they're going to take them on also and take them for themselves and do what pirates do with them. But it's a comedy. It's a musical comedy, and then there's tons of pop culture references. There's at least 2 Star Wars references. There's an Indiana Jones reference, a Pink Panther reference, a couple of Jaws references, Avon, Bo Derek, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Annette Funicello, Frankie Avalon, jokes on the Blue Lagoon itself, parody jokes on that, Errol Flynn. So all these pop culture jokes get thrown into this song, and it's a high comedy, high physical comedy, high hilarious, goofy comedy. There's puns, Kelly. There's some good puns.
Good.
So you got
always
to
a sign
have
of
that.
a good movie.
And then Mel, they have a monkey, and they've got monkeys that are cute. They've got a parrot. They've got horses. So they got all kinds of lovely animals for you to,
Yay,
love upon
monkey!
also. Yeah, the monkey's silly. And the parrot is, he's a pirate, so you need to have a parrot who talks. So it's a cute little pirate parrot, as it were. And it's just hard to explain. It's just a totally insane musical comedy, and it's just the lyrics. Some of the songs are really cool 1980s romantic pop songs. The Major General's big song throws a ton of these pop culture references into one long distance songs. Lots of sexual innuendo jokes, lots of goofy little things, physical comedy, as I said, stuff like that. And just the pirates they're not scary, they're like goofy pirates, but you're supposed to feel scared, but you don't because it's supposed to be a comedy, and it ends up with a big battle at the end, which turns into, obviously, a pie fight. But instead, not like a regular pie fight, a pizza fight. But you also have all kinds of pop culture references in that, and crazy fighting and goofy stuff, so it is an absolute insane comedy. And it's also pretty original. I mean, there's an interracial couple is introduced in it. This is 1982, so it's not really, there's a gay couple that gets introduced, and yeah, it's played for a joke, but at the very end, but it's not like a stereotypical type of gay couple thing. It's just, it's something that happens at the very end. It's used as a piece of comedy, but they don't shy away from it, and it's a little bit ahead of its time. But yes, it does have some pretty good puns, Kelly. I think you'd like it. And it's just, and the music is fantastic, and it's available only on YouTube that I could see right now. Whole movie's up there. There's some bad language in it, and then the sexual innuendo might go over a lot of kids' heads, but the grown-ups will get it absolutely. And it's just pure, insane goofiness, and I highly recommend it.
Cool.
Very, very cool. That may have to. I have a long-standing. I haven't ever watched a Christy McNichol movie.
What?
I have not. So I'll have. Sounds like I got to break that string. So.
I don't know how you made it through the 80s without seeing a Christy McNichol movie.
Wasn't that hard? Just say no.
Huh.
So Pirate Intern, by the way, great band name. And
I thought sexually frustrated pirates need to make their way into the title for this episode.
I think
Somehow, Kelly.
That may kick up the views significantly. Their listens. I think we can do that. So I just gotta go back, Dylan. I'm sorry, one more time to the whole interview thing because this is trouble. So let's pretend I'm your coach. It's Team Dylan, and I'm your head coach. And so you kind of, as life's going on, you kind of stop by and check in with me. So I want to kind of play this little part for me is that you come and say, "Hey, coach, there's this girl I think I'd like to date, but they gave me a questionnaire," and I'd say, "Fill it out right, do a good job." And then you say, "Hey, coach, there's a song. They're asked about a movie. I'm thinking about singing a song at them as they're evaluating whether I should date." I would have said, "You might want to think about that." But obviously it worked out. So what do I know as a life coach?
Yeah, it's just the thing is that when they said that, you probably never heard of this movie called The Pirate Movie, and I needed to prove that, because I could say, "Oh yeah, I heard of it before," and they might not believe me. I had to sing the Tarantula song, which is a song that's done by the police officers who are on the island, who's like their army, and it's a goofy little, almost Python-esque, Monty Python-esque song where they're skipping and doing like goofy walks and stuff like that. But it's a Tarantula song. I do have to say this though: the funniest scene in the whole movie is still the parody of the Pink Panther, Inspector Clouseau. I laugh every time I see it, and it's just a hilarious sequence where there's one of the actors is basically playing Inspector Clouseau. So everything happens. So he like jabs his tongue with a pen, and he steps on his bike and gets stuck in the bike, and he has trouble with his accent, and Chris McNichol's trying to understand what he's saying, and there's misunderstandings, stuff like that. It is one of the funniest scenes in the whole film, and I still laugh every time I see it.
Sounds fun.
Yes, absolutely. I highly recommend checking it out. I was thinking about sending you one of the videos before we did the show, but I was like, maybe I'll leave that for maybe afterwards.
Yeah, shoot it along because we can throw it in the blog post to help illustrate.
I'm gonna have to go watch this now because as you're talking, little snippets of it are popping up into my head. I know I saw it when I was a kid, so yeah, now I'm gonna have to go watch it because I think I liked it as a kid, but I'm sure you're correct that most of the stuff went way over my head.
It could technically, there could be a lot of kid stuff in it as well. I mean, there's the Pirate King puts his sword in the sand, and of course it's in the sand, so he shoots down, so he falls down. Kind of goofy stuff like that, and just absolute insane, silly stuff. But it's great. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. It's a very feel-good movie. It's only 90 minutes basically, and some change. So it's a real quick, easy, and it's a dream movie, a dream sequence movie. So you can't. There's a scene where Chris Atkins is walking on water, which is hilarious. Just the way it is. It's a parody of Jesus and stuff like that. It's hilarious, and just a lot of very contemporary 1980s things. And Christy McNichol's character is very snarky, so that's also kind of good for us as well.
Yeah, cool.
Very cool. And if people want to see it, YouTube is the best route.
Yeah, I don't think it's on on Netflix or Hulu, but I was checking on YouTube and I was looking for one of the videos, and it pops up the whole movie from beginning to end is right there. As I said, it's like a buck 38, something like that is how long it is. So
Very cool.
Cool. We'll have to look and see if there's even a DVD available that people could go hunt at the used bookstore.
there is actually the DVD version actually came out like 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. Of course, I bought a copy because we actually had two videotape copies of it because Dawn had one, I had one, and then I bought. The only problem with the DVD, I'll tell you, and they haven't done an update yet. It's not on Blu-ray yet. I don't think it's going to because it isn't a highly popular film. It's actually if you think about it, though, you guys know what the Razzies are, right? It's like the anti-Oscars.
Yep.
This was nominated for a number of Razzies, so in 1982, it's considered not a good movie, but it's worth it. It's real funny, but the sound quality on the DVD is actually not that great. You can switch between two styles of sound, and both sound a little distorted one way or the other. Like in one of the versions, the audio of the chorus in some of the songs sounds like it's echoing from an echo room. You know, it's in the background, you really can't hear it. It's not up front and close, so. But it's worth it to just check it out. But YouTube would definitely probably be the best way to go.
Cool. All right. Well, there's something else for me to go watch. My recommendation this week is another thing for y'all to watch when you're done watching the pirate movie. There is a show on the CW called The 100. I don't think I've ever really talked about this one before. It is a show based on a book series called The 100 by Cass Morgan. However, the show basically gets away from the books really pretty quickly. It goes in not a completely different direction, but they've changed the story. Some of the characters are the same, but they've really changed the story after it gets started. So the premise of The 100, it's one of my favorite things ever. The post-apocalyptic dystopia, you throw those words up into something and I'm automatically there. This one, after a nuclear war has wiped out the Earth,
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. It's not the too distant future, I think, from our present time when this event actually happens. At this point, 12 different countries have space stations and manage to evacuate a few people up to their space stations. Over time, the stations kind of realize they need to band together because they're the last of humanity and they need to, save humanity until the Earth is, not irradiated anymore. So they combine all the stations together and call it an arc. It's 97 years later. All of humanity lives in this arc. Now you can imagine that resources are not that great. This was a very abrupt evacuation. They don't have all of the best of much of anything. So one of the things I really like about this show is how they kept it to their clothes are really ratty. Most science fiction type shows that you see, all their clothes are shiny, plasticky looking, brand new, and sparkly. But in this show, they haven't had any new clothes. It's not like they have sheep up there that they can get some wool off of, or they're growing cotton somewhere. Their clothing is all basically original stuff that they had that has been mended over and over again. So everybody's clothing is very ratty looking. It's all faded. There's no real bright colors, which goes along with the dystopia thing. So that was a little touch that I really liked, and that was in the books as well because, of course, I read the first two books in the series anyway. But they have really turned into this pretty harsh society. Any crime whatsoever, if you're an adult, they float you, is what they call it. And that's the punishment. And what that means is they throw you out the airlock. So
That sounds a lot better than it is.
you're not really floating. You're dying.
Float me, sure.
Yes. And that's kind of what they've devolved into because of the scarcity of resources. They don't bother. If you don't conform, any slight little crime, doesn't matter what it is, if you're an adult, they float you. Children under the age of 18 get to go to jail until they turn 18, and then they float them. So technically there's a review process, but as the situation has gotten worse and worse, most everybody gets floated when they hit 18. So when the show starts, that's the scenario you're looking at. They end up sending all 100 juvenile prisoners that they have in jail down to the planet to see if they'll die, just to test it. What else can they do? So, because resources, which they haven't told the general population of the Ark, that their oxygen is running out. Pretty soon they will not be able to have anything to breathe. So they throw all of these kids down on the planet to see if they'll make it, because that's their last shot. They're either going to have to start killing people off on the Ark to keep some people alive, or they're going to have to go down to the ground. So this is the situation we're at. That's why the show is called The 100. They throw 100 kids down on the planet with basically no resources. They were actually supposed to have a little bit more than what they end up with, but the landing doesn't go so well, and they pretty much lose everything. It's currently in the 3rd season. In the 1st season, it's on the CW, so you can expect that this is basically marketed towards the young people. And the first few episodes, if you ever tried to watch it when it first came on, will really convince you this is meant for teenagers. It's not really an adult type show, but it actually gets very, very mature. They have to deal with all the things you can expect. It very quickly turns into a Lord of the Flies scenario, where you've got some of the worst of the kids. There are kids in there who murdered people. That's why they're in jail, along with the kids who got caught smoking pot, some kid that steals, all of that. You've got every crime imaginable all crammed into this and thrown on the ground to try to survive with no food, no water, no anything. And that's where you start. That's where the 1st season covers. You can expect to throw in a little extra drama. They quickly find out they're not alone. Apparently, something did survive the nuclear war and starts killing them. So you've got that little mystery to deal with. And who are these people? I don't want to spoil it too much, but I think it's a really good show that deals with a lot of the things that you want to see in a post-apocalyptic kind of scenario, of how they structure their government and their power structure. And these kids are dealing with who's in charge, how to survive. You really, really, one of the biggest things this show deals with is the horrible things that you sometimes have to do for the greater good. And that's a question that any society really has to ponder, the horrible things that you're going to do to keep most of you alive. Do you have to do something really horrible to one person in order to save 10 other people? And that's a question that comes up over and over and over again in this show, and it doesn't shy away from showing you the consequences of those actions. So you might expect, since we do have a bunch of adults up on the Ark, they've thrown all these kids down here, there are still people left up on the Ark. These kids obviously survive one way or another on the planet, so the people from the Ark need to come down because they're dying. Eventually, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say, eventually there are some people that make it from the Ark to the ground, and then you have a power struggle between the existing power structure from the Ark amidst the kids who have managed to survive against the odds and have their own power structure. So then you have to, this underlying fight there of who really is in charge of the adults or the kids who rose to the higher ranks through struggle and sacrifice and all of that sort of thing. That's another theme that goes through the show over and over again, is kind of that power struggle between parents and their children, of who's in charge and at what point do you let your kids make the decisions. So I really like it. You can watch it up on Netflix. Season 1 and Season 2 are both up on Netflix. Season 3 just started, so if you hurry, you can catch Season 3. It's really not that long of a binge. Season 1 had 13 episodes, and Season 2 had 16.
Are they hour long?
Yeah, they were hour long, so I guess without commercials, they end up being about 40 to 45 minutes.
Gotcha.
And they go really fast. There's a lot of action in these shows, so it never really gets boring. And I thought it went really, really well. It's one of those shows that not a whole lot of people are watching, but is always on all of the lists of the shows you should be watching that you're not. This season 3, actually, I want to say I think they doubled their ratings from last year on the premiere of season 3. I could be wrong on that, but I know the ratings went way up. And just for all of you Lost fans out there, who remembers Desmond from Lost?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
He's awesome.
He's
One of my
in
favorite
here.
characters.
Yes.
As Desmond?
No. No, that would be cool though, wouldn't it? No, he is also in this show and he plays another theme that goes through it. If you've got people who they're the bad guy of this episode, but over in this 2 episodes later, they're the good guy. So that's one of the kind of morally ambiguous things that go on with this show, is that not everybody is all good or all bad. There are plenty of good people who do really bad things, and then you have to see the consequences of that bad thing that they had to do. And that's one of the things I really like that they're doing so well in this show, is that it deals with all of these things. Now, if you don't want to think about any of that, and you just want to have things go boom and people running around stabbing each other with swords and things, it's really entertaining just from that perspective. But you can really delve really deep into it and think about the society that's going on, and I think they've done a really great job with it. So the 100 on the CW, you can watch season 1 and season 2 up on Netflix if you have a Netflix account. If you don't, you're going to have to pay for it.
Or join us in Rabbit sometime.
Yes, because I can watch it again. Oh, and also, if you are a fan of American Gods, Neil Gaiman's show that's coming to Stars, Lincoln in the 100, he's like one of my favorite characters in there, played by Ricky Whittle, has just been cast as Shadow in American Gods, and it's going to be awesome. So if you haven't watched the 100 and you want to see something about Ricky Whittle, watch the 100 because he is awesome as Lincoln in this show. The only thing that makes me sad is if he's the lead character in this other show, that means he's leaving this one.
Yeah, it doesn't sound promising for.
Yes. So anyway, he's a
Very
great
cool.
character, and you'll love him. He's one of the best characters in the show. So.
Well, crap. There's like a lot of viewing I got to work in somewhere between the pirate movie and now 100. And I've seen on Twitter a bunch of the folks we're connected with watch it, live tweet on it, and I haven't gotten around to it, and this really helps because it, based as you describe it, sounds very cool. So I didn't know what it was about.
Well, and that's one of the things when you first start watching it. At our age, you're tempted to just go, "This is just some teenager show, and it's all about what teenager is going to hook up with another teenager." And the first few episodes do have that feel to it because, for one, these kids have come from a very restrictive society, and now they're on their own with no adult supervision, running around in a forest. Things are going to happen. So, but it quickly moves away from that as reality sets in. So it's really good. I recommend everybody watch it.
You probably need to have that, though, to lead into because that's what it is. I mean, when they're up in the Ark, that's how they're reacting to each other, and they see each other, stuff like that. And then when they get down there, the first thing is it's like college. Oh, yeah, we're free. We can do whatever the heck we want. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, because you've got homework, you've got studying, you've got bills you have to pay, you've got roommate problems. And so it makes sense to go logically from a teeny bopper type of film or show up to a more serious survival type of thing. And that's really cool. I'm glad that it sounds like they do a really good job with that.
Yeah, I thought they've done a really excellent job showing that. And the consequences of your actions just come up over and over and over again with pretty much every character. So it makes it really clear that you pay for what you do. Even if it's the right thing for you to do at this moment, you're going to pay for it later. There are always consequences, no matter how good or bad your decision is. And I really like that. I like that. So it's good. I like there to be tears in my post-apocalyptic dystopias.
As opposed to song and dance.
I can do song and dance too, as long as they cry at some point.
Nice.
So.
Excellent. Well, we'll go ahead and jump on over to social media recommendations. I believe you're going to rest this week, Mel. Let's take a.
Oh yeah, I've been too busy watching The 100 to worry about any of that.
Okay. Dylan, I believe you have one.
Yes, I do. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of My Sad Cat, Mel?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to recommend that because I actually, it's a bunch of pictures of a author by the name of Tom Cox. He has a gorgeous, cute little old black cat, 20 years old. His name is The Bear. He's written a number of books about all of his cats. He is a cat person, and he's very dry English sense of humor, and he is able to give characteristics to his cats and make stories about them and their experiences they have with that. So he started off as writing these books about them. And then with the advent of Twitter and stuff like that, he decided that he's going to start spreading the word a little bit. So at My Sad Cat is under the name of Why My Cat is Sad. And the bear is a 20-year-old black cat who has the most soulful eyes. And the way Tom Cox describes him in his books is he's the most philosophical, highly intelligent cat you've ever seen, and is just his viewpoint of the world is he wants to help everybody that he can and give love and give them words of advice, but he can't because he's a cat. But he takes these pictures of the bear with these big eyes or in a box titled The Hotel California or with other cats, and he makes a little snarky comment, my cat is sad because he has joined, I think one of my favorite one is he has joined a cat gang and he didn't like their idea of beating up a mouse or something like that. So it's a picture of the other cats all swarmed together in one group and the bear off by himself just looking at you. So it's just these cute little cat pictures and stuff like that. But the books themselves, they really flesh out the characters. And Tom Cox has actually created a bunch of Twitter accounts for his cats. Why My Cat is Sad is the most popular one. But he also has My Sweary Cat, which is his cat Shipley, who's also a black cat, who is only just the tweet is bum effing gobstopper, and it's a video of his cat meowing or with his mouth open. He says in his books that Shipley, he doesn't meow so much as curse you when he's talking to you, and that's silly too. And then there's Ralph, who is the rock star cat, gorgeous, fluffy kitty, and always has this look of smugness, and so he's created Why My Cat is Smug, and just these little smug things like that. And then Roscoe, who unfortunately doesn't have her own Twitter account, but is been a focus more of Tom Cox's personal Twitter account because Roscoe recently got mauled by a dog, and so she's been getting through recovery, and she's in much better shape now, but he was going through and stopped doing the comedy for a while, stopped doing Why My Cat is Sad because he needed to focus on getting Roscoe better. But now Roscoe's fine, so we go back to the silly, goofy stuff. But it's just a cute, lovely pictures. If you like cats, you're going to love this. You got to read his books. There's 4 of them, and they're fantastic. That's my recommendation. Why My Cat is Sad at My Sad Cat.
I'm going to have
cool.
to go check out Sweary Cat.
Yeah, I was familiar with Sad Cat. I didn't know about Sweary Cat. So.
I didn't know about that one.
And Why My Cat is Smug is another good one, too. That's Ralph.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent. Cool.
Good.
So I have a recommendation as well, and it's Bree Warder, and her handle is at Bree, BRIE, HXC. So that's Bree HXC. She's an actress, comedian, entertainer, horror buff, and most importantly, hashtag game player. And so you all know on Twitter I like my hashtag games and the people who play it, and she's quite good. And we ran into each other. She hosts something that's called 5 o'clock Fridays, where they will run out some hashtags to interact with at 5 o'clock on Friday. And Notes from My Parents was one of the the hashtags from the past week. That was pretty fun. But she's really awesome, very funny, and so I'm going to recommend we follow Bree.
Cool. I missed that.
All right, and speaking of sexually frustrated pirates, we're going to hand it over to Matt, who's going to. I was originally going to go with speaking of somebody who needs to be double shirted from Dylan's earlier comment, but then I had to go with the sexually frustrated pirate. We're going to hand it over to Matt, who's going to give you all the information how you can connect with Nurture and Support on iTunes, the web, email, Twitter, etc. Dylan, I'd like to thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Anytime. I got plenty of recommendations.
Very cool.
No more
certainly
sexually
have you back.
frustrated pirates, though. No more sexually frustrated pirates. That's the only one.
It could be your thing. It could be like, oh, here comes the next, 100. All right. Well, great. Thanks again for joining. Sorry it's been a little while, but great to have you on this time. And thanks, everybody, for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You can contact us on our website, nurtureandsupport.net, or email us at nurtandsupp@gmail.com. That's NURTANDSUPP@gmail.com, or tweet us at nurtandsupp on Twitter. You can also catch Nurture and Support on YouTube. Just search Nurture and Support or Kelly Tool.
Nurturing and supporting. Terminated.